What's up, guys? This is Nick with EDC Mag, and today we're going to talk about the Dwaine Carrillo M250 Scout. Before we get into that, I want to talk about another knife that I've had for quite some time. This is the XIO Alpha Mark 1. Now, this knife was released in 2016, and I picked one up early 2018. Now, this is a 4-inch blade. It's S35VN. And this knife was made by a guy out of Hong Kong. He's a knife designer and designed a lot of knives for other companies and decided to go out on his own and design and market his own knife. Now, this XIO I came across around Christmas of 2017 on a knife review channel by a guy named Jimmy Slash. I'm sure you guys all know who he is. He does a lot of wonderful things, amazing things for the knife community, and a lot of giveaways, a lot of pay it forwards, a lot of cool stuff. He's a really cool guy. So I had a chance to meet him. I was fairly new in knife collecting, and he had reviewed this, and I saw it and fell in love with it. And not too long after he reviewed it, he decided to have a fire sale, so I reached out and picked this thing up. Now, this is a pretty amazing knife. If you go to XIO Alpha Mark 1 XIO Knives on Facebook, the guy that designed this knife, and I can't pronounce his name to save my life, so I'm not even going to try, but you can find him there. He took this and just beat the crap out of it. He carved open a car. No kidding, he actually did. He cut the middle out of a tire. I mean, he stood on this thing with both feet and had it braced between two other, I don't know, tires or wood or something, and stood on it. Just beat the living hell out of it, and at the time it was the only one he had. It was the prototype, and yeah, he beat the crap out of it. Now, the knife I was going to use today, USPS, being the lovely people that they are, decided not to bring. So this thing probably needs a good flitzing, so I apologize for the condition. I carry this off and on. I've carried it for years now. I've used it. This little Star Wars doodad right there is actually a sticker. I was playing around with having some laser engraving done on the blade, and just never got around to it. But this knife is amazing. It's you know, I was talking to a guy this morning, which is kind of what made me think about throwing this in when I found out that my other knife wasn't going to show up, and I thought I'd throw this in. I mean, it's been around. When I got this thing, a lot of people in the groups kind of went nuts. People really loved it. He only made 250 of these. And come to find out, he's a great designer, good maker, lousy marketer. And I kind of spread this thing around. It kind of took off. And I've known a ton of people that have picked one up, because I think originally, the retail on it was $370. And then they dropped that down to $250, which for a 4-inch S35VN all titanium frame lock knife is just flat out amazing. Not only that, but it has sealed ceramic bearings. It has a pin that you can attach to the lanyard hole back here, and you can screw that pin in through here and effectively make this a fixed blade. The thing I love about this knife is that it's so well thought out. I mean, there's so many things on it. There's just no wasted space. For as big as this knife is, there's no wasted space. It has, the holes are drilled for hex, metric hex. If you were in a pinch and needed to use it that way, you absolutely could. I mean, it's just a giant slab of S35VN. Massive Tonto. Now, at the time, I thought this was a big knife, and at the time, for me, it was a big knife. 4-inch blade, very tall, There's just so many things with this knife. I mean, it's just done so well. It came in a black and then just a raw like this one. At one point I had both. You can tell by the clip that I definitely carry this thing and use it. It has a nice lanyard hole, glass breaker on the back there. So this, for me, was an amazing buy, and I realized when I was talking to a guy this morning that has one that he just picked up on the secondary market that, you know, for the money, it's still hard to beat this knife. And I've seen a lot of knives in the last several years since I picked this thing up, and the fact that I still have it says a lot. I mean, this is a serious knife, and it's just something that you can take out and abuse and not worry about. This was his first knife. There were a couple things I would love to see, a little bit of jimping up here, maybe a choil down here, bigger choil, so you could really get up on this. But if your hand's big enough, you can still really bear down on this thing. It was made to be broken down in the field, so you could take this whole knife apart with a small coin if you need to. It's just so well thought out. The clip is pretty basic. It's flat. The thing about carrying this thing is that it just lays flat in your pocket. And if you wear mostly cargo like I do, you know, that just makes it that much easier. If you're wearing skinny jeans, get off my channel. But you're probably not going to win. You're probably going to get a spider coat or something. I'm kidding. Not really. But this thing is a beast, and just not a lot of people knew about him, and not a lot of people heard about him. Basically, he put that one thing out on you know, Facebook, and it was an amazing 30 minute commercial about how badass this was, but no one knew about it. There was a guy named Todd Ward. He saw mine, and he reached out to the maker and ordered a bunch of them, had them delivered to the States, because when you bought one of these, it was coming from Hong Kong, so you had to wait like two and a half weeks to get one. And Todd just bought a bunch of them, and then you know, you could pay the same price you would from Hong Kong, but from Todd, and get it in like 3 days. So I've known a lot of people to get these. Now, they're not for everyone. Not every single person loved this knife, but a very big portion of the people that got one of the 250 absolutely loved them. They weren't numbered. Like I said, I had the black, and I had this one as well, and I can't remember. I think I got the original one. I got might have been the black one from Jimmy Slash. I don't remember if it was this one or the black one, but I had two, and I've done this a few times. I've loved a model so much I bought two, and I don't know why I do that. Every time I do it, it just never works out. But this is the XIO Alpha Mark 1. As far as I know, he's never made another knife or designed another knife under the XIO name. I think he just went back. I don't think the experience was everything that he had hoped it would be. So I think he just went back to doing what he did best and let somebody else deal with the marketing. But regardless, he made one hell of a knife. So if you ever come across one of these, I want to say they were like 250 bucks new. I might be off on that. They might have been less. I don't remember. I know they were 369, and then they reduced the price. And you can pick these up on the secondary market at a very reasonable price. And these things, man, they just they're just, even today, with so many more options than there were then, they're just really hard to beat. I just give you a little idea of the size of this thing. Here's our trusty Kershaw. So you got 3.2, 4-inch. What you'll notice though is the tallness of this thing. This thing is just ridiculously tall. It's such a tall blade. It's just a monster. And it's going to be heavy, sure, but where they drilled it out, they made that useful as well, you know. So you've got additional tools, so it's a knife and a multi-tool. But it's just, you know, it's got the stainless steel insert. Never had any lock stick issues whatsoever. Just a very functional, well thought out, inexpensive knife that you can take out and beat to hell. Pretty cool, actually. Let's see what this thing weighs. I know it's heavy. Let's see. I think this is a little over 10 ounces. I don't remember. But, you know, that's a big old slab of S35 in there. So, yep, a little over 12 ounces. 12.24, so somewhere in there, 12, little over 12 ounces. But one thing about this knife that I can tell you for certain, because I've been carrying it for years, is it lays flat. It lays flat in your pocket. For the size, it does carry well, but you do know you have it in your pocket. You can, for those of you guys that have ever had the CRKT, so you've got the 4-inch blade and the 4-inch blade, give you an idea. I mean, the Fossil has a really nice belly on it, and you know, it's a somewhat tall blade for what it is compared to a lot of 4-inch knives that I've seen production wise, but it is still, in comparison to this bad dog, not even close. So if you're into Tontos, this is one to have at a reasonable price. They're out there on the secondary market. You can find them. You can break them down. You can clean them. You can take them apart in the field. You can close this thing and throw it at somebody or leave it open, whatever. Just a very cool, basic beast of a knife. So it, again, the XIO Alpha Mark 1, and if you search XIO Alpha Mark 1 on Facebook, you'll find him, and you'll find the video, and you'll find the page. But you won't excuse me, you won't find a whole lot else out there except maybe some, you'll probably find some other reviews on YouTube, but not out on the worldwide interwebs. You won't find a whole lot. So there you go, guys. Just something a little nifty that I thought I'd throw out and let you guys take a look at. All right. Let us talk about this monstrosity right here. And I say that with the utmost complimentary way I can. This thing is beast. It's wicked. It's badass. This is the M250 Scout by Dwaine Carrillo. Dwayne's out of Oklahoma, or at least he used to be. As far as I know, he still is. He makes these one at a time, handmade. He's been making knives for a very long time. I think he started in like '98. Made fixed blades for a while, then got into folders, and basically wanted to make the biggest, baddest, most wicked folder that he possibly could. This is a 4.25 inch CPM 154 blade with a black oxide coating on it. This is the G10 OD green scale. This has what's known as the U-bolt lock. So basically what you do is you press, and there's a few other locks like this on the market now. If I don't see if that'll show up, but you're pressing and it's releasing the blade here. Just a beast of a knife. I mean, it just looks like it's gonna jump out and kill somebody right there where it's sitting. I mean, just cool as hell. This is something that I found excuse me, early on in my knife collecting adventures, and it was kind of like a I wouldn't want to say grail, but maybe at the time it was. And finally had an opportunity to get my hands on one. These things are just super cool. Super cool. Now, some of the unique things about this, Dwaine has, and I've never talked to Dwaine, and there's a lot of things out there about him as a maker, but when he makes a knife, a really good knife, I mean, it is a beast of a knife. He likes to advertise on his knives, and the thing is, though, it's done really well. But there's like writing all over this thing where it says U-bolt. I think that says CD. You've got Scout in here. Then you go to the back, or where'd all this come from? You go to the back spacers, and I think that says Carrillo. Oh, nope. That's CPM 154. This is number 5 of this model. That says Carrillo. Then you go to the back. You've got M250 Scout. Again, Carrillo, in case you forgot who made the knife before after you turned it over. I think that's GB again. This is Rhino, which Iron Rhino, I guess. Iron Rhino, which I'm not 100% what that means. Again, CD 250 RGB. I know there's guys out there that collect these and know a lot more about them than I do. I just wanted to get my grubby paws on one, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. The one thing that to keep in mind about this knife, this one, even though it's not brand new, he's got a lot of models out there, and I don't understand how he names these things, what the point of the names are. He's got Cobras and Scouts and tanks and buzzards, and I don't know. He's just got just all kinds of crazy stuff and numbers, and I don't know if there's a method to that madness or not. I mean, regardless, it still looks like something out of a Terminator movie. I mean, it's just cool as hell, man. I mean, for the coolness factor, you just can't beat this thing. This one has not been used a lot, so it's still a little stiff, although I'm 99% sure this is on washers, not bearings. I'm sure you can, once I use this more and play with it, if I decide to do that, it will loosen up. I mean, you can one-hand it. It doesn't take a lot once you get it halfway open, and then just pop it with your wrist action. And you can actually wave this thing out of your pocket just because these are so big. That's definitely something that's feasible that you can do as well. We can talk about this pocket clip. It's a little ridiculous, but it's part of the uniqueness of this knife. I mean, this damn pocket clip is huge. You can carry that. You got it in your pocket. I mean, it's a wide, thick knife. No real good place for a lanyard, although, yeah, you could tie one up here. That's probably your best bet. So you could definitely make one work, or you could do like you do on, like I used to do on these fossils, and put them in between on your clip. I mean, it's a pain in the ass. Be easier on this because it's so much bigger. But just a super cool knife, man. It's just wicked. I mean, it's unique. His knives, they all are, even though the models are different. And some of them, like the Cobras, I think are 4.5 inches. But man, these things are just cool. They're unique. They're different. The second you see one of his knives, you know that's a Carrillo. The only thing I wish is it had bearings, although... yeah, I mean, if it had bearings, you could fall shut, it'd take your damn finger off if you weren't paying attention, but, a lot of knives will do that, so, it's, this was designed kind of like, I would say, in my mind, what comes to mind is a Medford Praetorian. It was designed to be a two-handed opening knife, although, once you work those in and play with them for a while, you can get them to open one-handed or use your thumb on the Prey. But for now, this thing is still somewhat stiff just because it's somewhat new and no one's really played with it a lot. It's hard to do. I don't have a whole lot of camera here with this big ass knife. But it's a bigger knife. I mean, if we take the one I just showed you guys, that you know, when I first got it, I thought it was a big knife, and you put it up next to this, you know, totally different blade design, totally different shape. This is very geometric. This is something prehistoric that probably is going to, I don't know, stab a dinosaur. We could put it up next to the fossil. How ironic. Give you an idea, size difference there for you guys that have ever had a fossil. A lot of people have. They've been around a long time. So you can tell how tall this blade is, which again, no big secret. I love the grind, the multi-grinds. I love the tallness of the blade. This lock is supposedly just absolutely brutal strong. Grab our Kershaw here. I have no idea what this thing weighs either. We can find that out too. For those of you that have handled a Kershaw, 3.2, 4.25, definitely a world apart as far as knives go. And these things can go anywhere, I want to say around 1,200 to 1,500. Just depends on how they're finished. I mean, he's done all kinds of finishes with these things, and obviously dam steel blades and all kinds of stuff. This oxidized finish, actually you can tell because a lot of guys this has had a couple owners before me, and I knew both of them, so I knew this knife had been well taken care of. But you know, it's been open like this, which is honestly how it's designed to open as an option. You can open it that way, or you can open it with your thumb. For me, this is pretty big knife. It's a little bit awkward just because I haven't played with it a whole lot. My buddy Valentino owned this, and for him this is like a normal size knife, but that dude is like 6'7", no joke. So he's like me, he likes the big knives, and he's definitely a lot taller than I am by quite a bit. So anyway, when this came available, he reached out to me and he's like, hey, you need to jump on this thing because it's cool. So hey, I finally got it, and I definitely have not regretted it. This thing is beast, man. So let us weigh this bad boy and see. Yeah, well, let's see what she weighs. Alright, easy. 11.5 ounces. You know, that G10 goes a long way in helping this keep this thing under 12 ounces, because that XIO actually weighs more than this, which is somewhat amazing to me. That surprises me. I actually thought this would weigh at least as much as the XIO. I think maybe it's somewhat deceptive just because of the blade shape on it. It just carries a lot of space. I mean, it covers a lot of space just because of the shape rather than just being, you know, flat and square. But there you go, guys. Dwaine Carrillo M250 Scout. There's a bunch of different models out there. People collect these. People love these. I've had a lot of fun with this knife. This thing is just cool as hell. It's brutal and scary, and, you know, scares children and women and probably farm animals. You can definitely do a lot of damage with this thing, no question about it. I mean, it's a brute, absolute brute. And that's my favorite thing about knives. I like them obnoxious. So, you know, it's 4.25 for me is like my sweet spot. Of course, my favorite knife of all time is the Vandermeulen, and it's actually 4.5. So this looks big, and it's all perspective, man, until you put it against something like this, and then you're like, oh, yeah, okay, I get it. So definitely got to get a review in on this guy. This is just, I could talk about Jeff for Vandermeulen for hours, so I'll have to figure out the best way to do that. But anyway, if you guys have ever been curious, if you looked at them, if you drooled over them like I did for a couple of years before I finally came across one, there you go. If you get a chance, man, this thing is beast. It is absolutely beast. I still not real good at opening this thing yet. Still not broke in, but it'll get there. That's all part of the fun, if you ask me. So there's the Carrillo, and here's this tiny little XIO. You can find those on the secondary market. I don't know if Todd still has any left. As far as I know, he doesn't, but you could always reach out to him as well. He's M. Todd Ward on Facebook, and he's a knife dealer. So very cool guy too. Absolutely phenomenal guy to deal with. But hey guys, this is Nick with EDC Mag, and I appreciate everyone watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do. I know we're all in lockdown right now, so if you get bored, tell your friends, and come and check out some of my vids. I've got some crazy knives, and oh my gosh, guys, I got some really cool stuff coming up that I can't wait to show you. So we're about, I don't know, who knows how long we're going to be going through this crap we're going through right now. The whole planet's going through. But hopefully I'll have some time to get another vid in a little sooner than I have been. Work's been crazy, so I definitely want to try to get stuff in front of you guys as soon as I can and stop waiting 2 and 3 weeks at a time. But hey, tell your friends, subscribe, keep checking back. We've got some awesome stuff coming up. So until next time, guys, stay safe.